Hello everyone, guys, welcome to another episode of me talking to a camera on a Friday. I hope you guys had a good week and had some pleasant people around you and are ready for the weekend, on which we will not have too much streaming going on. There will be probably a stream here or there, not quite sure yet, preparing a little bit for the Sebring 1000 on the Virtual Endurance Championship, perhaps doing a few more laps in the Formula Pro around Malaysia. We're gonna check the weekend schedule to see what we're actually doing, but be advised, it's not going to be as busy as last weekend, where we're gonna start off with the GTR24 series with the 12 hours of Matsusaka, which went 100% perfect to plan. We got pole position, we won both qualifyings, we defended the pole position into lap 1, and then we were quite building a gap and the lead lap by roughly a second or so. So in hindsight, that went particularly good, and it's always the same thing with those 12-hour races or with those endurance races in general. When you are on the lead, so much stuff just can go wrong, whether that's a pit stop, whether that's a car that you need to lap, not looking closely into the mirrors, whether that is some back markers holding you up. And there were quite 2 or 3 cars where I was like, holy moly, can you please look at the blue flags? Can you please be gentleman racing here? That was a quite frightening and quite an experience I was unused to, because usually in those series where I race, we got them people that react on blue flags, that know how to deal with the blue flags, and that usually don't create any drama around it. Obviously, when there is, position in fight with the back markers going on, then okay, fair, I kind of get that. You don't want to be left alone, or you don't want to be left over with a big disadvantage because of the lapped car coming around. So I kind of get that. However, though, the majority of the cases where it happened, at least when I was in the car, and I think when David and Yanni were in the car too, there were 2 or 3 teams that were just pretty reluctant to give way. And especially from a team that was 13 laps down at this point, I kind of don't understand or kind of don't get the intention of it. But okay, that is just me. And at the end of the day, we had no big issues. We had 2 or 3 minor contacts because of such activity going on. One lapped car kind of rear-ended us going into the car 0 triangle. But apart from that, and that was really a minor issue, we only had Jesper spinning once, I think, and then taking fresh tires, which got us a bit down in the end. But I mean, we have still won the race with a 5 laps advantage over the next DPI. And funny enough, position 2 and 3, I think, overall 2 and 3, have gone to the LMP2 cars, which has been interesting. I really hope that GTR24 is going to do some BOP for the next run, as good one. Excuse me. As the LMP2 car needs to be adapted in order to get the DPI really be in the fastest class. Yeah, so I really want GTR24 to do something about that, because the LMP2 and the DPI have been incredibly close when it comes to 1 lap pace. I think in qualifying, if you really hit the lap perfect with both cars, then the difference is roughly about 6 or 7 or 8 tenths. But in the race, it was a lot closer, since the DPI is a lot more different and a lot harder to drive, especially in race conditions. So for future rounds, especially regarding the rain, I would appreciate if the DPI car would get either more power, or the LMP2 gets less power. Something like that, because it created quite some nasty moments. Especially in the beginning of the race, I saw I think the axle DPI, at least being stuck behind an LMP2 car for quite some laps. So it took them quite some while to get up front. And yeah, I mean, we know that endurance racing sometimes is a bit intimidated and a bit pre-decided by traffic. But I don't think that an LMP2 car should be able to stay ahead of a DPI for, let's say, 6 or 7 laps in a row. Just because of how equally the car performance is, or how uneven it is on the straights and in the corners. So I hope, and I really wish this to be fixed, but we'll see what's going to happen. Anyway, that wasn't the only race that we had this weekend, and on Sunday we had the FSR a season opener 2022, the San Marino Grand Prix in Imola, and quite a race to forget. I need to admit, something I am quite not used to, which was bottling the qualifying like so bad. You're soon gonna see a hot lap from the practice that I just did 30 minutes before the actual race. And whilst I did that, I was like, I remember myself being, oh, you better repeat that one later on in qualifying. And it happened, or it had to happen, that I just could not do it. In the practice, I did a sub 15 lap time, and in qualifying, I think I've put the car with a miserable bad lap, like at least obvious 2 or 3 tenths lost in a chicane or in some corner combination. I think a 0.3, that's what I did, which gave me P6, and I was quite lucky not to be P8 or P9 or P10 or whatever. Anyway, race came, we were set with our strategy. We had a really good start. I had the possibility to jump 2 spots if I would have been pitch perfect into turn 1. Sadly, in the end, I could not even gain a single spot because when going into turn 1 or into turn 2 into that left-hander, I had to back out so much out of it that the car left to me, just got a run on me again, and then I was P6. But the actual start of the race has been really good. Like, great reaction time, good getaway, not too much wheel spin, good amount of traction. And then we would have been able really to outpace or overtake 2 or 3 cars. Unfortunately, there were other cars that had even better starts than we did. Thankfully, they were not around us. So I just saw one start in, you know, the blink of an eye in my peripheral view, where I was talking to my engineer a few laps afterwards, whether that would have not been a jump start. Because it quite looked like one. But apparently it was fine, so the game hasn't given out the penalty, and therefore one needs to say good job, great reaction time. I can't do it, but surely a sign of me getting older, turning 30 this year, so I'm pretty sure I need to go and do some reaction training in the future to keep up with that performance of young stars coming up. So yeah, the sim racing and the esport environment's getting interesting, more competitive, more smart. It's a great development we see, and that literally brings me into the middle of the race. So my only chance to kind of survive with the strategy that I was chosen for was to hang on somehow to the Red Bull guys. I tried to overtake Dennis, who suffered some interesting damage from lap 1. And try to overtake him because there was Sebring coming from the back. So I knew exactly I had to do the move on the Red Bull ahead of me, otherwise the Red Bull behind me would get me. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I tried a bit too hard, I ran a bit too deep into the corner, I forced Dennis off a bit. He kept the position. I think Sebring got us both done, but he kept my position, or his position compared to me. So yeah, I was the... well, actually Dennis and me, we have lost both 1 spot, so I can't describe myself as being the loser out of this one, but you get what I mean. Anyway, race went on. I found myself in the 9th place, and we were passed by other cars, and suddenly we had, I think we had 6, 7, 8 cars ahead of us in P9, and that was quite devastating. Like, it was difficult to keep the mental momentum up. Like, I wasn't quite used to, well, start in P6 and then slowly but surely drop to P9 and even get threat to even lose that P9 as well. So I wasn't quite used to that in the last couple of races, or in the last 1 or 2 years, where I would have constantly battled around some top 5 or even for the lead. It had to do with a different strat, yet though there were a few other factors that obviously made it a bit interesting during the race. I remember this lap 28 where I was trying to pass the car ahead of me to try and stay with the Red Bull guys, and yeah, I mean, I looked in the replay in that one lap. Besides being pushed off in Rivazza 1 and 2, I lost 3.5 seconds on pure pace, or 3.5 seconds, something like that, on pure pace. And I know that the adventures through the gravel trap in Rivazza 1 or Rivazza 2 was probably worth a second and a half. So that kind of showed the tragedy that happened on that lap. And I was significantly slowed down. Then that enabled people on other strategies to go by, and I had to let 2 cars go, and they were able to overtake the other car that was ahead of me on the same straight. So they had so much overspeed, they had so much slipstream, they had so much power compared to the other car, so much more tire performance, that they really pulled off to like a magnificent slingshot draft. Like, as I said, the first car is just literally side by side with the other car, and the second car that has passed me just sat in the slipstream. Both had some miraculously late braking points into Rivazza 1, and I had a quite late braking point as well, because I was given the outside lane and I tried to keep that outside lane. And then I got pushed into the gravel, and the rest of the story was I lost the complete connection to the Red Bull cars. Then I had a good damage on the front left, and since those cars are quite sensible, when you have damage on the front start washing out, and you have just a so slim operation window of the tires anyway. So that window completely vanished. Like, I had no idea anymore on how the front end is working, or is gripping, or is kind of operating for the next couple of laps, which has costed me another 2 or 3 or 4 seconds of me just running wide, losing the car here or there, just doing mistakes because of the changed behavior. So I had to adapt myself again, and I never really regained the speed. I lost the connection to the Red Bull cars, which would have been important to stick with them, to stay with them in a draft, because they were on the same strat. So yeah, hanging on to them was kind of important for my own strat as well. But yeah, from that point of view, or from that point of time, I was alone. And when being alone and not sitting in a draft, and being on a slightly slower strat with a little stricken car, yeah, then there is not much you can do. I tried to hold on to that 6th place deliberately, actually to that 5th place it was back at the time, but in the end I had no chance. Like, I did some good passes, I did some deliberate pass on Ivanov. Like, he passed me, and 2-3 laps later I tried to repass him, and I thought, like, okay, maybe 2 or 3 laps it's just somehow gonna survive at the front, put it all on one card. But I had no chance, and literally I limped home in 6th place with 18 thousandths of a gap to Janos Brashok, who was having a run on me on on the finish straight. So yeah, that sums up the race weekend really. Not happy about the Formula Sim Racing race in any kind of way, whether that is qualifying, whether that is race preparation really. I wasn't really prepared, I need to face it. Race performance, too many mistakes, 2 or 3 times off the track, then pushed off the track, so not free of incidents. And last but not least, like the overall environment, the environmental situation has not been very pleasant in that race. And yeah, we're gonna keep working on these things. We're gonna keep pushing on these things, and maybe we have a better round 2 in 2 weeks time, well, 1.5 weeks time, when there is a round 2 in Malaysia, that is the Sunday in 9 days, 20:30 Central European time. We're gonna be live as usual with the onboard and see what we can do there, see what we can do in Malaysia. It's going to be a tricky track, something entirely different than Imola, so setup work's going to be interesting and very much required, so we're going to push hard on that matter. Beyond that, what else did we have this week? On a Tuesday, obviously we had the Traction GG R-Factor Tuesday, and there we were doing some practice for the Virtual Endurance Championship, the 1000 Miles of Sebring coming up, and dear Jimmy, thank you for them track limits. Like, I had a brief, chat with our barking dog, I want to call it. Track limits. He absolutely loves them. He thinks they are perfect, and I agree and I disagree with him. From a spectator's point of view, remembering myself watching Formula 1, this endless discussion about track limits and stuff. Racetrack is defined by the 2 white lines that are bordering it. I gotta say, yeah, in Sebring now that is the case. Literally, when you run off the track with all 4 tires beyond the white line that is before the curb, so track, white line, curb, if you fully mount the curb, you get a track cut. If you just run wide on the exit and fully mount the curb, you got a track cut. If you try to straight line some exits over some little kings and you leave the track, you get a track cut. And this has been the most strict track limits setting I have ever raced on in Sebring. Even iRacing, which can be ridiculously close and ridiculously strict on track limits, has more lenient track limits. And the 1000 Miles of Sebring is going to be an intense race, a strong competition, but very much so 1000 miles of track limit survival. Because unlike iRacing, where you got 17 incident points until you get a drive-through, Papa Jimmy has the force and has the power to decide how many cuts we're allowed to have before we get a drive-through. This could be 3, this could be 6, this could be 11, this could be 20, this could be 1. So we don't know. We will find out. Well, some will find out for us on race day. Hopefully not we ourselves, because a drive-through in Sebring is not something that you'd rather want to invest your time on. Anyway, something else that is going to happen on this week time will be what happened this week. Sorry. Was the race in the Formula in the IndyCar. That was not the Formula, that wasn't the IndyCar, and the IndyCar around the electric dock, so the test track for the Formula E cars. It was quite interesting. I gotta admit, apart from those tied chickens and yeah, okay, we're gonna call it chicanes, it is a fabulous racetrack. It got some flow, it's fluent, to my understanding, it also got a good overtaking spot into the final turn, because quite heavy braking, so and quite wide open, can run different lines and stuff. But those chicanes need the move. If those chicanes are gone, then I think it's Yeah, too fluent racetrack, probably still with only one overtaking spot. Anyway, we have to do more of these races, and I think we did just one yesterday after we've run with the Formula Pro car around there. For next week, I'm not sure if I can slide it in with the R-Factor 2 competition system survey that we just did. I hope I can. If not, then the week after, when there is a bit more time for me, and then already alert, put it down on the calendars. Papa Michi is going to have a vacation from 14th to 20th March. So not sure if I'm gonna leave town. If I do, 100% no streams. And I think you guys can understand and accept this. Had not really days off, especially after moving houses. There was some big stress still in the calendar, so yeah, we need to take a little bit our time. I hope you guys will understand, and other than that, now it's time to wish you guys a good weekend. Have a nice day, have a nice weekend, have pleasant people around you, and see you there on our next stream. See you, goodbye.